Wednesday afternoon, and it's just a little bit after 2 o'clock, and here we are at our regularly scheduled program. Happy to know that you're listening and that you're turned on today for whatever time. Here's your chair. Come on in, have a seat. Good afternoon. This is it was a bright sunny day this morning, another cloudy day right now, and you know, I often will ask you the question, how are you doing? And I am always immensely interested in knowing the answer to that. How are you doing? It's always a quietness here when I ask, and some of you tell me that you always answer when I ask, so I'm asking again, how are you today? Full disclosure, I'll tell you on the other side that how I am is running around trying to put out forest fires today. What I mean by that is that yesterday and today we've had several reports of people who have gotten this infection that's going around out here, and one of my jobs in being the director of the preschool is to kind of create a firewall protection around the children and the parents and the staff, and try to create protocols and processes just like your doctor's office will do and what's happening everywhere. And so we get news of some people who have been infected with the virus have come close. They've come, near us. And our response is then we have to sort of look at it, call the Board of Health, and respond in ways that continue to protect people. So that's what I've been doing. And I don't know how I am. I'm hopeful for health for the people that I know that are feeling sick today too. But it's just a really interesting, weird time. So I've been talking a little bit about these themes of Advent and the experience of what Advent is and what it's supposed to be about and how it works into the history of how we practice our faith. And I grew up outside the mainline church. I was not in the denominational church, and it was sort of like in the area of Baptist, but the Presbyterian church and the Baptist church and the Methodist church, maybe somewhat, have not really had a long tradition of these seasons of the year. I was 25 years old before I ever even heard of the season of Advent in the church. I didn't know of this liturgical cycle where we try to teach everything there is. I gotta turn down the sound. Again, hold on one second. And then I realize I'm competing with my own background music. So when I went to seminary and then I finally became a Presbyterian and was ordained as a Presbyterian pastor, that was happening at the same time that the Presbyterian Church was trying to embrace a more global kind of Christianity. Actually, the Roman Catholic Church and the Protestant churches were trying to find a middle ground. They were trying to bridge some of the divides that had taken place in the time of the Reformation and the wars between all kinds of people with different religious beliefs. So, in the Presbyterian Church and in Protestant churches in general, these liturgical, curriculum of learning, the cycle of the church was embraced. So that the readings that take place on the first Sunday in Advent are all the same in these now mainline denominations, including Presbyterian. So we began to join in a little bit on this seasons of the year and to do more of the same things from one congregation to another at the same time. And so the season of Advent is set aside to shine a light, if you will, on one of the elements of our life as people of faith. When you are walking in faith and you're practicing the Christian faith and other faiths as well, you live in a one of the things that characterizes our lives is expectation. We're hopeful. We hope and we hold on to the truth that something more is coming. Something better is coming. It's built into the fabric of the pattern of our Christian discipline. So on this Wednesday, we open the door, this little door in our Advent candle, and we take a little piece of candy and we eat that. But the lesson on this day is that life, not just in the season of the coming of winter and the approach of Christmas, but that life, well-lived, life that is lived to the fullest, as Jesus referred to himself and said that he had come to bring fullness of life. He was trying to address much broader issues of life than just survival. That when you are thriving in life, there will be this theme, always, as a thriving, living human being in the world, of hope for what's next. Now, if you've heard me talk at all before here in the ministry of the High Mountain Presbyterian Church, by the way, I am Lou Kilgore. It's a little late to introduce myself at this point, but I'm the pastor here in this community. If you've heard me at all, you know how important it is to me that the practice of our faith, the practice of our Christian faith, does not cross the line of denial. We take a bold stand to bear witness to the truth of God's love, but also the truth of the brokenness of the world, the hardship of the world. We are not just wishful thinkers. That's not what this door on the Advent calendar welcomes us to. When we are people of hope, waiting for what's next, knowing that everything good that is going to happen in life hasn't happened yet, we are people who add into our very realistic and very practical engagement of life, on life's terms, a belief that always we can be looking on the horizon for what's next. And that looking for what's next in a hopeful way is just part of the fabric of our life. I think it was in, I don't know, I was going to say what year it was, but it's been many years ago now. Hurricane Floyd, Tropical Storm Floyd came through New Jersey, ripping up from the south, and delivered just a phenomenal amount of rain. The density of rain from Tropical Storm Floyd delivered into central New Jersey was the most dense rainfall ever recorded since they've been recording rainfall density. 13 inches of rain fell in a little over an hour and 10 minutes. It was like if you went outside when this was happening, it was like it wasn't rain. It was that you'd been put under the water in a swimming pool. The devastation from that kind of a deluge of water was, as you might imagine, it was pretty dramatic. The water accumulated first in the streams, and then it flowed to the rivers, and rivers flowed out into the stores and streets and highways and byways all through that central New Jersey where there are, the Raritan River goes through there, and it went over its banks. I think it crested at like 24 feet above flood stage. And it went ripping through the little town that I lived in. And there are 3 little towns on the bend of the river, our town, and then one over there, and that town, and there was another one over there. And all 3 towns were really just in the downtown area, in the lower level areas, were just absolutely devastated. All the central services of civilization were gone. Our septic systems were wiped out, fresh water system was gone, all the cell phone communication towers were knocked out, no electricity. Light power, of course, was gone, so when night came, it was a night, it was a jungle. But the town was closed entirely, all the roads were closed off, and the National Guard came and took up military posts until we could figure out what to do. 2,000 homes were destroyed, and those, therefore, 2,000 families were left without any place to sleep. Hotels opened up, the hotels for people just to come and stay. There were no alternative places to go to. The Red Cross workers and the FEMA workers that came in from all parts of the country to help us couldn't find a hotel to stay in. It was such an unbelievable circumstance of despair. Now, I know in some third world countries, in some barrios and backwater villages of the world, the conditions that we entered into were normal conditions. And I would venture to say that the level of despair or fear that we felt in those 10 to 12 days was greater because we were not used to it. We were worried about the outbreak of disease and all kinds of things. We were not in a third world country, not in a 2/3 world country. We were in central New Jersey, in the metropolitan area of the United States. Despair, fear, especially at night, was palatable. It was everywhere. And so the faith communities in those 3 towns, there were probably 25 congregations, some of them mainline churches and some of them sort of the part-time churches with the Spanish-speaking pastors, and it was a very ethnically diverse community. And so after the first day, word went out. I don't even know how it spread, but it spread by word of mouth, that the leaders of the faith communities were going to get together. And we were going to get together, and I didn't even know what we were going to get together for. Well, for what? We have no expertise. We don't have bulldozers. There was a fire in town that burned 4 buildings down. We weren't the fire department. What were we going to do? And so when the word of our meeting got out, then also the emergency management teams in the 3 towns decided that they would also get together, and we merged our meetings together. And I was in a very big church. We had a very large sanctuary, and so I got the word out that we would host it. I said, Presbyterians, there's a lot we know how to do, a lot we don't know how to do. One thing we know how to do as Presbyterians is we know how to put on a pot of coffee on a Sunday morning and have fellowship time. We know how to do refreshments. So I said, you come, we'll figure out how to make hot coffee, and we'll get some donuts and stuff. We'll do something to provide something to help, and then you guys can figure out what to do. So they came. Our sanctuary had, at the time, we probably had maybe 150 what were considered first responders. We had representatives from the fire department, from the hospitals. Everybody was present. I got up behind the podium. I called the meeting to order, and I said, the churches are trying to do their part, and that is to be at your beck and call for what do you need us to do. So the county had appointed an emergency management worker who was basically in charge of all of the responders. She was really the czar of this disaster in this area. And it was clear 5 minutes into the meeting that this group had never been together. There was no organization. It was a disaster. There was just, everyone's fear was palatable. And at one point, this woman who I really came to be very close friends with, she was a great administrator. She turned to me, we were sitting up on the chairs in the podium, and she turned to me and she said, "You do understand, of course, your role as faith leaders in the community, don't you?" I said, "No, I really don't." And she said, "When all else fails, when everything else breaks down, when you have a level 5 disaster like this, it is almost always the leaders of the faith community that step forward with the honest and true felt belief that there is hope." She said, the faith communities are the brokers of hope. You are the brokers of hope for us, because you are the ones who have lived always as a regiment of your life to know that hope for a better tomorrow, no matter how bad today is, but hope for a better tomorrow is built into the very chromosomes of faith. It is in the DNA of faith. It's not wishful thinking. It's different. Hope is not wishful thinking. Hope is a knowledge. It's a knowledge that survives in us in our discipline of faith. And it travels with us sometimes into the darkest and most discouraging days of our lives, but it is resident within us. So after that conversation, I began to realize that the faith communities, and she said this, she said, we are bricks and mortar in the county. We have facilities, yes, we can clean up garbage, we can clean streets, we can put utilities back up. We can do all that work, we can organize all of that, but we need the faith community leaders to be out front and to be holding up the banner that says, today's a bad day, but we look forward to tomorrow. We look forward to tomorrow. That's what's in today's Advent calendar, little pocket. We hope. We have hope. It's not wishful thinking. It's not denial. It's hope. And today, a perfect example of it, and how hope changes things, is that I firmly believe that if we were going into this December with the staggering hospitalization rates and now alarming death rates related to this pandemic, I believe that without the news that is also in there today, that the virus, the vaccine is just around the corner. Whatever that means, however long it takes, it doesn't matter. It's a light of hope. And people of faith knew it would come. Not necessarily the vaccine, but people of faith are those who can hold on to hope through the darkest days, through the raging fire of a pandemic. And it's not denial. It's not pretending it's not real. It's not being in the absence of fear. People say, oh, you shouldn't be afraid. Nope, there's a lot to be afraid of out here. And there's a lot of things that you should do to change your life, to defend yourself. Faith is not in contradiction to actions of self-preservation. Not at all. But faith gives you, as a part of the fiber of your life, the hope for a better tomorrow. A hope that the vaccine will be discovered, and it is. A hope that it will be then able to be distributed in a way that's effective. A hope that the neediest will get it first. A hope that is resident in us. Happy Advent to you. This is a season, although it's true for every season and every day of our lives, we choose this season to lift up this element of what is faith. What is relationship with God like? What is life with faith like? It has in it the very fiber of hope for what is next. God bless you, my friends. I hope that your life will give you the opportunity to be able to see beyond today and to know that while there may be some bad days ahead, that in the end, as we move forward, we do not lose hope. We have it with us because God is with us and we walk with God. Thank you, my friends. I will talk to you tomorrow. Today is Wednesday. I will be here at 2 o'clock on Thursday tomorrow afternoon. God bless you. Thank you for coming in. I really didn't give you much chance to say how you're feeling today, but maybe I'm trying to anticipate and to offer these words in this season of Advent for you as well. God bless you. See you tomorrow.